This month marks 5 years since I started self-developing and scanning film at home, and I want to share the 5 most important things I've learned in that time. Let's get straight into it. Learning chemical reuse is one of the first most important steps when developing film yourself. Because if you don't, the rest isn't going to matter. You're not going to have any images on your negatives. When I first started, I would get the C41 kits from CineStill, which I still use, and they would say like develops 24 rolls. So I can develop 24 rolls and I'll replace it when it's done. Boy, was I wrong, because I had to make adjustments that I didn't know about, and it also had an expiration date, which I also didn't know about. So over time, I started developing and noticing that my negatives were coming out really thin and my images were disappearing over each development. And so I was like, okay, maybe it's been past the time. I didn't really keep track of anything. I just decided to replace the kit. Was fine. Happened again. And by the second time, I was like, okay, I gotta look into what the heck is going on. And I realized that these manuals, PDFs, actually tell you the chemical reuse, and that they have an expiration date from when you mix it and everything. And also you have to make adjustments, usually adding time after a certain amount of rolls developed, to continue to use these to their full potential, the chemicals. What I do is I keep notes on the notes app on my phone and keep track of when I mix the film, how many weeks I have left with it, what I've developed, and how much time I need to add or have added. Don't miss out on this. I'm not very technical and I don't know the science behind drying film, but I do know if you don't do it correctly, it's going to determine whether or not you have hair by the end of this year or not. Personally, I use distilled water on my final rinse and the recommended amount of photo flow. However, this stuff doesn't work as well for me as it does for some other people. I've tried it so many different ways. I still end up with some streaks. So I use Chem Tech wipes to dry the film, squeegee it, and get that water off. But if you do this too much, it will leave scratching. Personally, over the years, I've been using this method, and this has been the best way of drying the film for me. And you just want to make sure that your film is dried correctly from the chemicals, so that in a few years it doesn't start changing colors and getting all ugly. The contact sheet is widely overlooked in today's day and age, but it could be the reason you're not improving, because the contact sheet is for more than just viewing your photos on one page, but it's actually to help you spot and correct mistakes in exposure or white balance if you're doing color. It's different than receiving individual scans because those are often already corrected, but viewing them on a page without those corrections is going to help you notice the difference in white balance between different lighting fixtures and temperatures of time of day, or your exposure if your light meter is broken or not working, or you were doing it yourself and you just made a mistake. And it's not very hard to make a digital contact sheet without a darkroom. There's plenty of videos on YouTube on it. So I recommend checking out one of those and really seeing the mistakes that you might be making that might fly under your nose. Editing your film scans is something you either do yourself or you let someone or something else do it for you. Either way, there's no getting around it, because there's so many different factors in your final image, from the paper to the chemicals, enlarger, camera scanner, lab. You get the idea. Building your own editing style is extremely important to grow and become more confident as a photographer, because if you take a bunch of images but you don't know how to edit them once you get the scans to make them look how you wanted or how you remembered, then it's going to become extremely frustrating. If you self-scan, try a different camera if you have one, or a different lens, or a different software. Building an editing style that you're confident in is something that takes time. I can't tell you how much time it's going to take. In my personal experience, it took me about 4 years of experimenting with different scanners, different software, different styles of editing, using LUTs, and then stopped using LUTs and doing it myself. There was a lot to it, and it just took experimenting. It's not something that is gonna work for you if you don't have the same scanner as I do or the same editing software. It's a very unique thing that once you build is gonna make you more confident as a photographer, so that you can grow and you can continue to create some nice looking work. Mistakes are inevitable and they're not cheap. Believe me, I've been left sad and broke last week. On a serious note, I have considered quitting film photography on a few occasions. But no matter how frustrated I was, I said no, I'm gonna figure this out. Film photography is not for the perfectionist because it's not perfect. And honestly, I think that's what makes it special. Throughout high school, I was taking darkroom classes and just fell in love with the whole process and wanted to do it at home and do it myself because I realized film photography may not be here forever. I don't know how long it'll be here for, but I'm sure as heck gonna take advantage of it while it's still here. And 5 years later, I feel the same way. Hope that me sharing these important things I've learned in the last 5 years will help you grow faster or avoid some of these mistakes if you're new to this in general. Either way, don't forget, Jesus is King, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.